welcome to a very special interview show of The Prode. The tensions between Russia and the West are at an all-time high, and there is no hope of a ceasefire as of now in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Another issue that is making headlines these days that is associated with the Russian invasion of Ukraine is the issue of Kaliningrad, as the state-owned railway company of Lithuania, the LTG, said it would bar the transport of Russian goods to Kaliningrad, adhering to an EU sanction list. Joining me today from Vilnius to talk about the Russia-Ukraine war and the issue of Kaliningrad is the honorable member of the Lithuanian Parliament, MP Vytautas Gapsys. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and a very warm welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting.
Uh, Sir, I would like to begin the discussion by asking that, first of all, how do you see and analyze the recent developments and current situation in the Russia-Ukraine war? Then we will move on to the Kaliningrad issue.
It's actually it's very pity that the war has started and Russia decided to assault sovereign state, and of course it's a huge problem in the whole world and in Europe in particular, because it changes a lot in our geopolitical situation, and of course a lot of people have to suffer from those actions. And as you may see, a lot of refugees from Ukraine around Europe, and families are broken and people die. So that was almost unimaginable a few years ago, and now Russia decided to start that war, which is it's very, very bad for European geopolitics and for European people and the whole world as well.
Yeah. So why is it so that there is no hope of a ceasefire as of now in the crisis? And how long do you think that the Ukrainians will have to suffer this horrific situation?
It's very difficult to predict. Of course, as you may know, in the mass media, we follow the messages from Ukraine officials that they believe they can finish the war till the end of the year, and they will finally free those lands occupied by Russian forces. But it's very difficult to predict. Actually, when the war started, it was thought that it will last for weeks or months, but actually we see that we have the middle of the summer, and military activities are spread in several regions in Ukraine, and Russian forces attacks and have some more plans. So I hope Ukrainians will stop them as soon as they can, and I think European and the whole world countries will help them to do that. So, but to predict that we will have the peace in a few weeks, it would be very difficult.
Yeah. So now coming to the Lithuania, also how big of an impact does the war had on Lithuania in terms of economy and other components?
Of course, we have some losses due to the conflict, but we understand that it's unavoidable, and we have to have sanctions against Russia, because that's the most direct possibility for us to show that we want to stop their actions against Ukraine. And many of our citizens believe that this is the right choice, but it's very difficult to say how much it will be due to direct actions of Russia against Lithuania. For example, they are considering to disrupt our logistics and possibilities to transport goods from Russia to other countries. But Lithuania for a long time started preparations and started to orientate the economy from eastern part, from Russia in particular, to European Union countries. And for example, transport had about 29% of their activities in Russia just 10 years ago, and now it's only about 9–10% of the activities are related to Russia. So you may see that that it's a huge difference in 10 years. So of course we suffer, and there are some particular companies which are important for our economy. For example, Lifosa, fertilizer company, and it is owned by Melnichenko, now by his wife, through several intermediate companies. But due to sanctions, they had to stop their activities, and now there is some mechanism to reopen the company, but it's still not effective. So we feel that some sanctions affect not only Russia but us as well. But the same issue was and is in some other countries as well, and we see that other countries also have to choose between sanctions and their own economic activities. And we understand that now we have to help Ukraine because the next country may be Lithuania as well. So we have to stop Russia now, because it's important for peaceful living in the future.
Yeah. Where do you see and analyze the role of Lithuania in the whole crisis?
Excuse me, could you repeat the question?
Where do you see and analyze the role of Lithuania in this whole crisis?
The role of Lithuania in the whole crisis?
Yeah.
Lithuania usually coordinate their activities with the European Union and NATO allies when it is necessary to act. Of course, we have direct links to Ukrainian government and parliamentarians as well, and we try to help them as much as we can in various spheres. For example, the parliament also talks about possibilities to improve their abilities to work with European Union, Ukrainian abilities, because they now started the process of entering European Union, and we hope that we can help them as well. But you may understand the difference between Ukraine and Lithuania is huge. Ukraine is, I believe, it's the largest by land country in European Union if we exclude Russia, because most of its parts are in Asia. So, and Lithuania is a tiny country with about 3 million citizens. So it's the difference is huge. But what we have expertise in European affairs. We have expertise. We understand those people because we were in the Soviet Union, and we know how the process of integration to European Union works. So we may help a lot. Of course, from military perspective, we try to do as much as we can, but our military capabilities are much smaller than, for example, Germany's or France or other European countries and NATO countries. I even can't compare with the United States. Of course, what we can do, we try to do, and there are even some interesting actions from citizens when they raise money. There was a fundraising company to buy a drone, Bayraktar, and the drone, I believe it's successfully delivered to Ukraine, because just a week ago we had an official ceremony. The drone was in Lithuania and it was ready to be sent to Ukraine. So we try to do our best, and of course we accept refugees from Ukraine as well. But the role is always coordinated with our partners in European Union and NATO countries as well, because we are members of those union and alliance, and we have to have the common opinion. Of course, we are very active within those organizations supporting Ukraine.
Yeah. So now coming to the issue of Kaliningrad. So, why is it that Lithuania barred the transport of Russian goods to Kaliningrad? Can you put some light on the same?
It's not a question about Lithuania. First of all, it's about European Union and its sanctions. And those sanctions describe situation, and it describes what should be done. And among those sanctions is a prohibition of transportation of some goods. And for example, now we have a new stage of those sanctions, and for example, alcohol cannot be transported as well. It's from yesterday or today. It's those days. It's also included. So, but it's not unilateral decision. It was the decision by within the European sanction mechanism, and of course there is now some discussions within European Commission to how to explain those measures. And of course there may be some changes. It's very difficult to say the final decisions, but I have no those decisions. But it was not Lithuania's unilateral action. It was an action described by European sanctions, and Lithuania has to follow those sanctions. And of course, it's a very specific situation because it's transportation of goods from Russian Federation to its enclave Kaliningrad through European Union. But as Lithuanian officials read those texts, they believe that it's necessary to follow the rule that prohibition should be also for the transportation of those goods through Lithuanian territory. So it's just implementation of the decision taken by the European Union.
Yeah, Russia yesterday said that they have completed all the preparations for measures against Lithuania and the EU in response to the blocking of transit to Kaliningrad. So how prepared is Lithuania?
As I mentioned before, for us, it's Russia is not the main market anymore, and there may be some sanctions and some actions against Lithuania. For example, our electricity grid is connected to BREL system. That means that we are interconnected with Russia, Belarus, and other countries, and we are not yet fully integrated into European electricity system. So the most probable, maybe, or the most discussed scenario was that they can cut us from that BREL system, and in such a way to disrupt our electricity grid. But we have plans already for years that we should enter European interconnection system, and most of preparations are already done, and we are ready to do that. And there were even some examples of working without BREL system. And I believe that we will be ready if some kind of measures are taken by Russia in that sphere. We just, of course, we will have some things to do faster than we expected. We will have to prepare for that, but everything is on the way. Of course, They may, as I said before, they uh, may try to restrict our transport companies from transporting goods from Russian Federation to other countries. But actually, when the war started and when Russia initiated that war, many of those companies already stopped their activities within Russia, and I believe that for them it won't be very painful. Of course, uh, each company is important for us, but we understand that sometimes sometimes it may be so that unfriendly countries may impose some sanctions to us as well, and we have to look for measures how to help inside Lithuania for those companies, and we will look for those ways as well. Of course, for the whole Europe, as you may see, it's not for Lithuania directly, and for Lithuania maybe it's even easier in that situation. It's gas, natural gas, which is very important for European industry, especially in Germany, and we know that Nord Stream 1 may be stopped on these days for some technical reasons, and just a few days ago, Minister for France said that they may not start it again. In that case, it will be a huge disruption in the natural gas market in Europe. For Lithuania, we have LNG terminal. Also, almost 10 years ago, we started the project, and we can supply even the excess for other countries like Latvia, Estonia, or Poland. But for the whole Europe, and of course, then indirectly for Lithuania, it would be a huge disruption because of all the energy market shocks which may follow the stop of natural gas flows to European Union. So there may be some actions from Russian side, but Lithuania is quite well prepared, and we hope that we may still be strong in our position.
Yeah. So I would like to conclude the discussion by asking that what does the future holds for Ukraine, and where do you see the crisis going in the near future?
Well, of course, I hope that Ukrainians will manage to free their lands, the whole occupied territories, and will stop that war in that way. But as I just, it's my hope, and what we can do as politicians to support Ukraine in all the means we can. So we try to do that constantly, and every day we have discussions what to do next and how to help. I hope that NATO allies will help from military side. I mean, exporting so much needed guns to protect Ukrainian territory and country. But of course, it's very difficult to predict it, as I said before, when the conflict will stop. I hope it will stop soon, but I believe it will. We are not weeks, but months. We should think about months or even more than a year uh, till the final resolution of the conflict. Of course, it's very bad news for every Ukrainian who lives in those conflict territories, but it's very difficult to see the progress, because Russia, as you may see, they have plans for all the region of Donbass, and they try to use their last resources or some resources from years ago, but still they are moving forward. And I hope that soon Ukrainian military will stop them. And of course, from economic side, it's a huge shock for economy, and we have to cope with that. But I believe that we will be stronger after that, even more stronger than we are now, because that was a clear signal that Russia is not a partner. Russia has their own interests, and they follow only their own interests. And we cannot believe that every time we will be we will receive the resources we need from that country. So we should invest more in our energy sector. We should invest in our economies in the way that we could control the situation, and we could choose where to buy our energy resources, and not to be only like slaves from one country. So I believe that it's a clear sign for all European politicians that we should do our preparations and to live in such a way that we may manage those situations ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Really appreciate your views. Hope the situation gets better soon and may peace prevail. On this note, I want to end this interview. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.